Hello, good evening, and welcome to the United Stand. I don't know why I always say good evening, because you could well be watching this on a Monday or a Tuesday. So welcome to the United Stand. First thing I want to say is, if you are live with us, you'll notice there's been a disproportionate amount of dislikes on this video. There are two explanations for this. One, we're being bombarded by Arsenal fans, so please drop a like and back Manchester United and the United Stand. Or two, miserable gets are jumping on a conclusion of what this video may well be, despite it being quite vague purposely. Right, let's start. Lots to talk about, as per usual, on the United Stand. I'm joined by Ross. Ross, can you hear me?
How you doing, Mark?
Very good, thanks. And I've got Marcus with me as well. Marcus, are you there?
How you doing, pal? You all right?
Good, good. Right, let's fly into this. Okay, so let's see. Mourinho frustrates the fans is the tagline for tonight's Sunday night show. And I've got to be honest to start off with. There are a lot of things to talk about, and it is a fan show, and we've got to be representative of fan views. Now, thanks, Push and Bag. He's dropped a like. That's brilliant. First of all, I just want to say this is not a reaction to Arsenal beating us. Look, I think losing a game in the Premier League is possible because it's the most competitive game in the league. I also think we were quite unlucky today. A lucky goal put Arsenal ahead, and then bad defending by Smalling compounded it. But if Arsenal fans give in the big un, I said this before we lost, I said this yesterday, if we lose to Arsenal and they celebrate it like they've won the bloody cup final, which they all are, it just shows the small mentality of their club. It grates me because Arsenal are a crap club with no spine, so to lose to them is always embarrassing. But they've just compounded themselves. They've just confirmed Wenger will be there for another year. It's a very small victory to what will be ultimate disappointment. So jog on. This is a bigger question though, and I sort of stems from Paul, who does the podcast. He said that he's really frustrated with Jose Mourinho's tactics at the moment. It was all well and good against Chelsea as a one-off, but against Manchester City it was too negative, and we were lucky to get a draw. And today we were too negative and we got what we deserved. What do you think about that? Is it fair? Because I have to say, because I know a lot of you will say this if you watch the Mark Goldbridge tactics preview, I had no issue with the tactics today. In fact, they were exactly what I did in my FIFA tactics preview. Arsenal had the ball. I put everyone behind the ball. When I got the ball, I was patient in possession and looked to hit them on the break. And up until half-time, that's exactly what we did. We continued to do it after half-time. I didn't pick Pogba, Bay, Valencia, exactly what Mourinho did. The issue for me today in relation to the game was that Rooney missed an absolute sitter. And if you've watched it back, he should have scored, or he could have given Mata a tap in. And if that goes in and we win the game, because Arsenal would have imploded at 1-0 down, the fans are fickle, they would have turned on them, Arsenal would have lost confidence, and we probably would have won that game 1 or 2-0. Instead, it's 0-0 at half time. Xhaka hits an absolute fluke. It would never happen again. And then we switch off and they get a 2-0 win. I really thought it was down to very fine margins. And I disagree with people who are blaming Herrera for turning his back. I mean, bloody hell. I've heard some nonsense in my life, but some of that nonsense was Scholesy would never turn his back. I distinctly remember him doing it a couple of times in his career. It's just one of those things. It was just... You can't blame Herrera for turning his back from 30 yards out when he was just carrying an injury and it flukes off him. It's just ridiculous what people will look to have a go at him. But the question, I've been going on for too long. Mourinho frustrates the fans. Let me just read this to you, lads, because I don't know which way you're going to go on this or the live comments. But some of the things, obviously what Paul said, too negative, too defensive and no pace, saying it's a good performance when it's not, free hit to go and try and win a game, not even a second chance, a millionth chance to get top 4 today, and we still played defensive. Lingard, obsession with Lingard is as bad as Fellaini. It brings him on, gives him a new contract, total shit. These are just some of the comments that people have sent us. Just disappointed. You know, somebody even said if this was Van Gaal, he'd be getting slaughtered. Why is Mourinho getting off with the last months of moaning about fatigue that he's brought on himself, moaning about games before they've even played, which gives a negative attitude to the players, and negative tactics? Whatever anybody says about us playing good football through this season, the last few weeks have been dire. I'll start with you, Ross. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I can see why people would think that. And to be honest, I have been a little bit disappointed in the way we've approached some of these games. But as you said, that we had chances in all of these games, and we had chances to win all of these games, and we just don't have the quality out on the pitch to win these games or to convert the small amount of chances that we get. So I don't. It's tough, to be honest, because it is annoying seeing Mkhitaryan and Mata playing so deep. But then when we hit them on the break, they need to have the quality to be able to get forward quick, and they didn't seem to have that today. And I don't think that's Jose telling them not to break. They're just not supporting the striker quick enough, and I think that just comes with quality. It does wind me up. You say about Jesse Lingard, it winds me up that he gets so much stick, but yet Mkhitaryan has been, in my mind, way worse than Lingard's been over the past sort of 5-6 games, but yet just eludes any stick because he's a new signing. But for me, I think Jesse Lingard made a difference when he come on today, a lot more of a difference than Mkhitaryan made in that first 60 minutes. Thought he was poor.
The tactics, I mean, what I would say in defence of Mourinho is, what else could he have done today? Who else could he have played? I mean, I totally agree what people are saying about Wayne Rooney. I really do. £300,000 a week, biggest earner at the club for the last 3 years, captain of the club. I mean, it was atrocious. But the one positive about Rooney's performance today, and it's a bit condescending to say this, but it's true, at least him being a body in the squad meant that we didn't have to play Pogba. That's the only positive I can see, because people can moan about the tactics and maybe they were a bit defensive, but that team today we couldn't have gone 2 in midfield and gone attacking. I mean, what were the options today? I mean, I agree with you, Ross. I think that Rooney chance. I mean, I must just read some of Mourinho's comments here. I'll feed some to Marcus, but one for you. I mean, he was sort of fed a line by the BBC. I think it was Jonathan Pearce said Rooney was great today. This is Jonathan Pearce. Rooney was great today. So much effort and fire. Fantastic. To which Mourinho sort of replied, yes, I can't have a go at any of the performances today. But then he did go into detail in a nice way about the chance. He said the chance of the game fell to Rooney. 6 yards out, he could have just passed it across to Mata, or he could have just popped it through the legs. So, Mourinho, it's not lost on Mourinho that was a sitter missed as well. So, what else could he have done today? I mean, a lot of people moaning about the performance and the negativity and some individuals, but I think they'd be the same people moaning if he picked Pogba and Pogba pulled a hamstring and he was out for the season.
I think the people that are moaning are the people that didn't realise about sort of 2-3 months ago that Rooney's legs are gone. He's trying his best, bless him, and I applaud him for that. But it's obvious that his legs are gone at United, and he doesn't really. Don't like it, but he doesn't really have a future at United anymore, to be honest. And it's become apparent. I mean, he basically played. I mean, the amount of times I saw him and Carrick standing in the same position was ridiculous. He tried to play deep Rooney today, and he was so ineffective. But yeah, he did try. He had the best opportunity of the match, and he did fluff it. So he's even losing his finishing abilities, which used to be his strongest attribute. So it's a shame. I really like Wayne Rooney, but it just seems to me that his career is over, if not already.
Tyrone Williams says the performances will always be poor and negative if Rooney starts games. I would agree with that, actually. I mean, Sander touched on it on the watch along. Me and Ross were talking about it before the game. Just can we get one performance from Rooney? And I just don't think we can anymore. I mean, we've all given him numerous chances, and even I'd given up on him a long time ago. But I just thought, you're obviously going in the summer. You've got a few weeks left, and like a mini season in a way. Just hit it and give everything you've got. And I think he is giving everything he's got. He just hasn't got it anymore. Indy Tagger says perfectly well that the problem with Rooney is he just didn't look after himself in his mid-20s. And it's caught up with him in his early 30s. Marcus, I mean, what are your thoughts on this? The criticism that Mourinho is getting for the tactics. I mean, 2 points from Swansea at home, City away, and Arsenal away. However you look at it, it's not good enough. We do have a very big squad, and I do empathise with the fans that are saying, look, there are excuses for today. But he's been very negative all month with excuses about fatigue. I haven't got enough players. Even today, I've got no more players to come back. But actually, you've got enough for nearly 2 teams anyway. Do you think any of the negativity is fair? Or could he have done anything different today?
No, I don't think so. I think it's all fine and well and good saying that we've got enough bodies for 2 teams and that, but when you split them for 11 against another 11, the second team that we got just simply isn't good enough. And I think that's probably the only positive I would take from Rooney's performance today, is that Jose has seen that not only can he not cut it against the lower league sides, the lesser teams, but he hasn't got the legs to compete with like the top six teams anymore. And I think it's apparent with not just Rooney. I think Chris Smalling is a liability. I mean, after that goal today, what the hell happened there? I don't know. He just sort of like got stuck under the ball. And I think Michael Carrick, we used to see him quite a few years back now dominate a midfield against the top sides, but today it just wasn't there. He was outdone by better class players.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I think people having a go at the Arsenal performance, we could have won that game. If Rooney scores the goal, I think Arsenal would have imploded, and we probably would have come out with at least a draw, and we'd all be saying it's not a bad result. I think Marcus sort of just said it there. The Smalling goal was Smalling's fault. I've heard a lot of people defending him, trying to blame Martial and Mkhitaryan for their part in the build-up to the cross. That cross, that carries a long distance. I used to play centre-back quite a lot, and I'm sorry, I'll argue with anybody. It's not a 10-metre cross, it's a 30-metre cross, and he gets stuck under the ball. And people are trying to say, oh, he's trying to mark two players. It doesn't matter. As soon as the ball's coming in, you get the trajectory of that ball and you get under it. And he got stuck under it, and it was very easy to defend. And Welbeck, I mean, I've heard United fans saying it was a good goal. It was a crap goal because the defence was just... You see 30 of those goals every weekend in League One and League Two. It was a poor goal. But we were 0-0. We were in with a shout. A lucky goal from Xhaka, and then we switched off. The worst cardinal sin. 5 minutes after the goal, we give another one away, and Arsenal's tails are up then. So I think as a one-off game today, I don't really have an issue with. But I mean, Mourinho, interesting, Marcus, not disappointed, very good performance, and really happy with individual performances. I mean, that is frustrating fans, because that's bullshit. I mean, even I as a Mourinho fan can say that is total crap, and it's the second week you've said it in a row. You said it against Swansea as well. There was some bad individual performance, as it wasn't a very good team performance. You as a manager don't need to take that on your shoulders when it's your reserves. I don't understand what he's coming from there. And I know people will say, oh, he's just trying to keep a unity. But that's not what he's done all season. He's been quite critical this year. So do you think he really, truly believes that was a good performance with with everyone putting in some good individual performances? Or do you think it's all about finally trying to be a little bit like Sir Alex used to be, and keep it in house and portray that everything's well?
No, I think he's trying to keep it in house, mate. After the last couple of games, well, probably after the last few months, I think he knows who's going to be going in the summer. He knows, the positions he needs to strengthen, and I think today's performance, effectively with a reserve come youth squad, apart from Mkhitaryan and Martial in the starting lineup, I think that team just is not good enough, and major wholesale changes need to be made in the summer, and he knows that. And I think he's just trying to keep the peace, keep the team together, until the end of the season, because we're 1 foot into the Europa League final. Wouldn't want to cause any disruptions before the next leg of the semi-final. So I mean, I think overall, there'd probably be a couple of good performances, but I would say from Twansebe and that McTominay kid for the last 10 minutes. So I mean, I just think he's trying to keep it together, mate, until the season's finished.
It's a good point. I mean, I just sort of read what everybody's saying, because I'm not on that page really. I am very disappointed, because me and Ross were talking about this. Liverpool gifted us yet another opportunity to get top four, and I think the tactics and the team were already in play. We didn't know the Liverpool results, so Mourinho had already set his stall out. But the next question has this season been a failure? And I was thinking about this, funnily enough, just before we were coming on air, and I've got to be honest and say, look, I don't want Mourinho to go. I want him to stay, and he will stay. He won't be sacked, and I think next year we'll probably win the league. But if you're asking me if this season's been a failure, even if we win the Europa League, 100% yes, it has. It's been a failure. But if we can win the Europa League and get Champions League football, I'll just say goodbye to this disastrous season and say we got out of that with something that we, minimum was Champions League football, and we got it. Because whatever we do in the Europa League, I personally think that the league has just been a shambles, an absolute shambles. And it's not all the manager's fault. In fact, the vast majority of it, I don't believe, is Ross.
No, the league, do you know what? What I was thinking before I come on here is that Mourinho's tried some things this season, and he's pretty much given every player in our squad a fair crack, apart from Memphis and Schneidlin, who I think were given the exit door a bit too early, but then we don't know. Apparently Morgan forced the move, and Memphis's attitude was obviously disgusting. I mean, I see his social media post now and think, thank God we got rid of him, to be honest. But I think he's learnt a lot from the players. I think he's learnt who he can trust. I mean, even this whole not rotating the team thing earlier in the season, I think from doing that, it's clear who are the real soldiers and battlers in our team, and it's clear that Zlatan was always going to play, Pogba was playing every game, Herrera was playing every game, and they could handle that. Valencia was playing every game, he could handle it. Smalling and Jones couldn't. You know, they fell at the first hurdle. I think they've fallen again today, and I think Jose will know this, and he will know, he will have learned, and he will. What Van Gaal couldn't do is get rid of the deadwood. He never did it. Jose will this season, and he didn't. We all expected to clear out last year, but he didn't do it. I think he's given everyone a fair chance. Even Wayne Rooney backed him all season, but he will know. He's not stupid. He'll know who he's got to get rid of. He knows he's got to replace, and given the level of performances that he's had off some of our, which are supposedly our most trusted players, I don't think the season has been a disappointment as long as we win the Europa League, because I just know going into next year we'll be so much more of a powerhouse. I think this is a good kind of stepping stone to what needs to be. It would have been too much for Jose to come in and completely turn it around from where we were under Van Gaal, which was an absolutely dire place.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I think you've more or less covered everything I would say. I think this. Hirsch just says, "Mark, how can you call this a failure?" Exclamation mark! Exclamation mark! I do. I think I think this season is a failure, but my support for Mourinho is unwavering because I don't actually put a lot of the blame at his door. I mean, we're going to talk about his tactics in a minute, but the reason all the great managers, and Sir Alex Ferguson used to say it, and I didn't really used to quite understand it. He was asked the question of what at the start of the season, what do you want? And he used to say the league title. And he was asked, well, what about the Champions League? And he said, well, there's no greater achievement in a season than to go 38 games and win the title in your country, especially in England. And I used to think, well, the Champions League's quite nice, isn't it? But that was what he used to say. And I sort of, I think Manchester United are every season, no matter what cups we win, and the League Cup, to be honest, oh yeah, it was nice, but I forgot it the minute we'd won it. It's just a tin cup. The FA Cup has gravitas, but we got knocked out of that. The Europa League, we've never won it. The only great thing, you know what? If we didn't have Champions League for winning the Europa League, I don't think we'd all be as interested in it as we are. I think it's nice to win the trophy, but we'd all be going mad today if the Europa League wasn't a route into the Champions League where there would be meltdown tonight. It's only because it gives us that everyone's sort of like, oh yeah, if we win that, it's great. So the Europa League's okay, but I judge us on what we do in the Premier League, and it has been a failure. It has been I wouldn't say embarrassing because there has been good points, but our form is inexcusable. And I don't want to list off the home games because it irritates me every time I do. But we're not talking 1 or 2 points here. And we're not talking pretending a draw we had at home that we should and turning it into a game we should have won. Because I don't include some of the draws. Like Everton at home, I don't count that as 2 points dropped because we were lucky to get a draw. But there are genuine games we've played at home this season against the likes of Burnley, Stoke. You know the list. There's about 16 points that we have thrown away. Everton away, Fellaini threw that away. Too many points. If we just had a third of those points dropped, we'd have top 4 comfortably. We've handed it on a plate to whoever takes that 4th spot, and it could be Liverpool, it could be Arsenal, but we've handed it on a plate, and that is failure. But I don't put it on Mourinho's shoulders because I've watched every single game this season, and whilst he got his tactics wrong in the derby for me, and whilst today I don't think he did, Swansea, I don't think he did. And a lot of the games, I don't think it's down to Mourinho. I think it's down to people not putting the ball in the back of the net. But I ask you the same question, Marcus. Is this season a failure at the moment, or would it be a failure if we don't get the Europa League?
For me personally, I think if we don't get in the Champions League, I think it would be a failure. But in saying that, if you look at the overall bigger picture, And look what this guy has had to endure in his first summer. Right now, he's brought in 4 players. It's still not his team, as we know. He's only got rid of Schneiderlin, Depay, and Schweinsteiger. It's not as if in his first summer he's going to buy 6-8 players and totally dismantle the squad and make it his own. This is a progress. It's, I suppose in a way it's a project, isn't it? It's going to take a couple of seasons to get him his team that he wants. So for what he's been left with, and the absolute crap that was left in there, I would just say that this season is a season of finding out who he can trust, who's going to step up to the plate, and who's going to go out the door. And I think as long as, if we win the Europa League and we get into the Champions League, I don't think it's going to be a failure in the season just because of our position in the Premier League. It just proves that in the Premier League, it's a tougher league, it's the best league in the world, and our players, our aging players, can't cope with it anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a hypocrite, so I'm not going to change my mind. I think it's been a failure of a season, and but that's the highest standards I set for Manchester United, and I don't put that failure at Mourinho much. I'd probably put it at about 20% at him. I think the players have let him down. I mean, Marcus Junius Brutus has made a contribution on the Super Chat. Thank you for that, and it's a fantastic comment as well. He says this season has just been a giant pre-season for Mourinho. Next year you will see the real improvement, and I think that's sort of
there we go.
That's what you said. It's sort of what Ross said as well. Because going back to Rooney briefly, Ross, when you dig down into what the issues have been, and I think we're all on the same page that Mourinho has made mistakes. I mean, Fellaini's his mistake. There is no getting away from that. But when he came into the job, I don't think he would have expected Wayne Rooney to offer the minimal. What has he offered this season? I know he's scored a few goals, but a point against Stoke, he got us a point against Stoke with a very good free kick. But for Wayne Rooney, and you listen to people like Marcus Rashford, he's a legend in the dressing room. We all look up to him. He's in fairness to Mourinho, he would have been expecting a hell of a lot more. I know he figured it out quite quickly because it was around October time where he first dropped him, I think, or maybe it was even September. But when he took the job, I don't think he would not have been expecting that of Wayne Rooney. He would have been thinking, I can sort him out. Van Gaal probably played restrictive football. The issue is clearly bigger than that with Rooney. It's just one of the steepest declines I've ever seen. So there's Rooney there. And I mean, whatever else, but I do put it down to the players, which is what you were talking about before.
Yeah, and I think what you said about it being the players, it's not Mourinho's fault. And you know what? I don't even blame Mourinho for playing this defensive football because he's lost trust in the team that he's been putting out. I think he trusts his Europa League team, which he thinks is his strongest team at the minute. But I think with losing Rojo, with losing Zlatan, with centre-backs dropping, he's lost Ashley Young and he's lost Luke Shaw. I just don't think he trusts the team to be able to do the job that he's asking. So he's basically consolidating and going defensive. And it hasn't worked. But yeah, I don't blame him for that. I just blame the players. And when he looked at, prime example is Rooney. When he probably thought coming into this squad, coming into this job, he could get the best out of Wayne Rooney, regardless of his age. I think he felt that he had a lot more in him. He obviously hasn't, and he's learnt that quickly. And I think there's a lot of players that you could say the same to, because he, in theory, inherited one of the best centre-backs in the Premier League last season with Chris Smalling. Where did he go this season? We were looking at Smalling Bailly being one of the strongest centre-back partnerships in the Premier League. It just hasn't happened. So he's lost a lot of players that he would have trusted to be his main men this season have not lived up to scratch. And like Marcus said, he'll know who he can trust in this team, and he will replace who needs to be replaced. And unfortunately, I'd agree with every one of them. But same as you, I think Fellaini will be a part of our plans next season, which might be Jose's mistake, or Fellaini could come good as a squad player. But yeah, the jury's out on that one.
Tyrone said it's going to be a Fellaini-free show. Ross started it. I'll finish it. He's a Jonah. If you don't know what a Jonah is, they used to get thrown over the ship in the olden days when you were on one of them voyages. Somebody who's bad luck, you get rid of him. you look at Fellaini's time at Manchester United, it coincided that first summer with Sir Alex Ferguson going with Moyes. Moyes got rid of, Van Gaal got rid of, Fellaini still remains, and we are still struggling. I tell you what, if we get rid of that bloke, whether you like him or not, I guarantee times will change. Whether he'll get rid of him or not is another matter. Baruki says Rooney hasn't played in all those draws that we did. He's not the reason we're 5th in the table. It's not his fault. Do I need to explain that for you? He's our biggest earner. He's our captain. The fact that he wasn't playing in those draws because he wasn't good enough means it's his fault. He should be playing in those games and scoring goals. Just because he wasn't getting picked because he wasn't good enough, that just highlights the problem. He's not been there where Mourinho, the fans and everybody else, well, I don't think the fans expected it actually. We have watched him for the last 3 years, but I think Mourinho probably expected a little more from him, and that was the reason he tried to get rid of him in February to China, and Rooney refused it. Sonny the Dude says, Mark, thanks for the contribution, Sonny. He says, Mark, this is his first season in all clubs he's managed. He did not sell 7 or 8 players and buy new one first season, but for United he only tried to work out with these players which he knows are crap. Yeah, I think everybody's pretty much on the same page that he's got a massive job to do. And never forget the last 3 years we've had. You know, champions, Moyes came in, destroyed the club, got rid of players, got rid of the backroom staff. Van Gaal came in and just tried to squeeze the life out of us. And then Mourinho's taken on that last 3 years as well. There was something, I think it was Bet365 or one of the, probably Paddy Power because they're awful, got loads of retweets, and it was like, this time in Van Gaal's first season, 65 points. This time in Mourinho's season, 65 points, but Mourinho's had 165 million to spend, gets loads of retweets. I'm sure even United fans are retweeting it, going, oh yeah, good point. Totally ignoring the fact that Mourinho's having to spend money to right the wrongs of what Van Gaal did. Idiotic, but it appeals to the dickheads. Tactics. Let's just before we move on, because we've got some good topics to talk about tonight. The one thing that Mourinho is responsible for is the tactics. Ross sort of alluded to it there, Marcus. You know, Mourinho saying that Mourinho's had to go defensive because the players have let him down. Dre Mack has just said he's too defensive. I've had other people saying that if this was Van Gaal, they'd be going mad because the tactics are really poor. There is another super chat I just need to read. Shari Karis, thanks for that. He says Madrid 11 Champions Leagues and 12 coming. United 3. Small club. You've just spent money to tell us that, mate. The joke's on you. Thanks for that. And over to you, Marcus. Tactics, what's your thoughts?
Well, the difference in tactics is that Van Gaal's days, it was bad tactics and crap football. At least with Mourinho's side of his tactics, we can see an improvement. So, I mean, the last couple of games, the tactics haven't been great, but, he's putting his tactics out to suit the players that are playing. And if that was the tactics today to, obviously counter-attack and, if we get a 1-0, fine. But it looked to me like they were set up not to be beat, to keep this unbeaten run going. And, they got a lucky goal and heads dropped. Where was our leader to pick us back up? Nowhere as normal. And, the second goal goes in because of another mistake, and that was it. It's curtains, isn't it? Game over.
Yeah. And to be honest, I think I think people are making too much of a big deal about today's result. Today's result's not why we're getting top 4. I know we had that chance because of Liverpool's result, but it's too little too late. I mean, even with our strongest team, would you expect us to go and beat Arsenal? I think we can do, but it's never a foregone conclusion in the Premier League away to any club. So, and let's not forget, the tactics and the team would have been sorted way before we knew what the Liverpool result was, and I think Marcus is spot on. I think Mourinho was like, this is a bit of an inconvenient game, it's all about Thursday, but I don't really want to lose, so this is how we're going to set up, and if we can get a draw, fantastic. And then, I think we would have. I think we had a very good chance of getting a draw. I think that Xhaka goal just changes the complexion of the game, and it's a lucky goal as well. Danish Shastri has made a contribution. He says, look at the larger picture. If we have realistically been very difficult to get top 4 anyway, now we can put all our effort into the Europa League, and we definitely have the potential. Plus Mourinho will win it next year, which I think is a very good point. I just want to defend Andrew Ellis because he has been Jose out for a long time, and he has been on the United Stand live comments for a hell of a long time, so I will defend him because the United Stand is all about opinion. And even though I totally disagree with what he thinks about Mourinho, look, we're all football fans, and the wonder of football is that we all have different opinions. And he has been Mourinho out from the start. So, and he says, I have an opinion, so hush your mouth giving me abuse because I'm Jose out since he's arrived, because he's too defensive. And, some people have that. You've got to respect it. There's no need for the abuse. I think that's what we're just saying there in relation to that. Dre Mack is defending Van Gaal. Brave man. And I think Louis Van Gaal's influence is still evident in players' mentality and approach, says Paul Lucas. Interesting. I have opinions on mistakes that Mourinho's made this season, but I'm not going to talk about them till the end of the season because we've got to live with him now. I've been very, very vocal about the Fellaini thing. I think it's madness. But one of the things that might just be worth planting in your seed for us to revisit at the end of the season is Daley Blind. Ross said about Smalling last year was fantastic. So was Daley Blind. He's not really been played at centre-back all season until we've had all the injuries. He's come back at centre-back and he's been fantastic again. And a lot of people said, it's because he was defended. He had two centre midfielders in front of him. He hasn't for the last few games. I think him and Bay have been fantastic. Why is Mourinho not gone with Blind all season? I think that is one of his little mistakes as well. But I don't want to talk about mistakes until the end of the season because I think that's the time to do it. But one mistake that I don't think we're going to be able to avoid, Ross, is De Gea will leave this summer. And I know a lot of people get annoyed by that, but you can't blame him because there was times today I was looking at him on the pitch and he just looked utterly fed up because there was a couple of saves he made today and it was almost back to the Van Gaal days. I've heard a lot of people, me included, saying, look, if De Gea goes, he's a world-class keeper, but you can sort of replace him. It's not the end of the world. It's not like losing Ronaldo, an outfield player and 30 goals a season. A goalkeeper, as long as you've got a good one, we can just about get by. I'd like to retract that statement because I think today I saw again that if United play crap, De Gea's world-class ability suddenly becomes very important. And that save he made from Ramsey in the first half was exactly what we were talking about on Thursday when we were moaning, or I was moaning, if you like, about Romero starting over De Gea. Because everyone goes, Romero's been great. He's a top bloke. He's a top red. He gives his all. But that save that De Gea made today, Romero wouldn't make that because that's a world-class save. And that's what I'm on about. So on the subject of De Gea, fantastic again today. United crap, so De Gea plays well because we're under the cosh. Do you have concerns about De Gea going?
I have concerns about him going, but ultimately I think that there will be talk with Real Madrid. I think the saga will go on. I don't think he will leave us in the summer. And I think I'm one of the rare people that think that. It's just politics. I just can't see United letting him go easily, and I cannot see Real Madrid letting us just sort of, dick him around all summer, to be honest. And I think they will have plan B, C and D ready to go if we don't sell him to Hay. And we've already got one, maybe two or three up on Perez, to be honest, and I don't think he's going to let it happen again. So, and I don't think De Gea will force a move. I think he's gone beyond that. I think he probably feels a bit disheartened about the fact that Madrid sort of waited all that time to buy him last season, the season before, and that kind of messed him up for quite a while at United. I don't think he's in love with him as he thinks. I think he wants the move, but I don't think he will force it. I don't think his agent would either anymore. So I can just see him staying, to be honest. But just on your point, I know he is, he's the best keeper in the world, but I would like to think we move past this relying on him, and we have done to a point this season. But yeah, last sort of few months we've gone back to that, needing his saves again, which is infuriating. But I'd like to think we'll move past that and get to a point next season buying better centre backs and having Bay been breaded in for a season. We'd need him a little bit less than what we've done over the past 3 years. So hopefully, if it happens, which it could do, it won't impact us as much as if he'd have left 2 years ago.
I'll react to that. I'm just going to read a super chat from Mark's chair. Thank you. He says, it's at least Liverpool won't win the league. Shout out to the chair. You know what? I don't like Arsenal. I really don't like Arsenal, but I hope they get top four over Liverpool. I don't think we can do it now. That's our own fault. But I don't like Arsenal, but I would much rather they got top four from Liverpool. But whether they can do or not, it remains to be seen. But yeah, back on the De Gea thing, I think it's quite telling actually that I agree with Ross, and we've spoken about it a few times on the channel, that this season De Gea won't get Player of the Year, and that's a real positive because it shows the shift in the way we've been playing. He's been Player of the Year for the 3 years that since Sir Alex left. That's because we were poor and we needed him to keep us in games, and it's indicative of the way we play. This year we have played better football at times, but it's quite telling, isn't it, in these last few weeks that De Gea is suddenly starting to be man of the match or man of the match contender again, like he was today. And I think when De Gea is becoming more prominent and becoming one of the man of the match contenders, that goes hand in hand with the United not playing very well. So we need that to change again quite quickly. And another thing that I think is quite symbolic, I thought that Rooney miss today, you could almost just, don't bother wasting any money on a Manchester United season review. Just watch that 5 seconds because it pretty much sums up, definitely in the Premier League, United season, very good chance, missed opportunities, wasted chances. I mean, and that is what we've been like in the Premier League. And that Rooney thing today, that chance just typifies the whole season for me. Should have scored. If you score it, we'd probably be challenging for the title, as mad as it sounds. If we'd scored the chances we've missed, we really probably would. De Gea, Marcus, do you have any different opinion? I mean, I personally think he's going to go. I don't want him to go. I really like De Gea, but I think it's more of a personal lifestyle thing. I think he wants to go back to Madrid and start a family, and he is Spanish, and he's given more than enough to United, and I just think he will go.
Yeah, I mean, I'll have nothing against him if he wants to go. He's done his absolute best for us with his time he's been here, and I think the last 3 seasons, to be honest, I don't think the club have really deserved him. I mean, he's been head and shoulders our best player in the Moyes and Van Gaal days, and if he wants to better himself and he don't want to wait around, and he's not getting any younger either. I know he's quite young, but if he wants to go to Madrid and start a family with his girlfriend and that, then best wishes to him. And it'll be a shame, but he's going to be one of these players that we could get a decent amount of money for, and we could probably get a decent goalie as well, but he won't be as good as him.
I have a funny feeling De Gea won't go. He'd want to be part of this project that he's seen being such an important part of, says Danish. Thanks for the contribution again. It is an interesting one. Skype Goldbridge is tomorrow night, so I know a lot of you've got a lot to say. I'm trying to sort of pick a few live comments to read out as well whilst whizzing through the topics because there's so many as per usual. But if there's anything that's really getting on your goat and you want to discuss, then take a note and Skype Goldbridge tomorrow night. It's all one word, Skype Goldbridge. You don't have to be a friend of me or anything like that. You can just call, and we'll take your calls tomorrow from 8:30. So I'm looking forward to that because it's a bit of a grey area with United at the moment, and there is a lot of frustration out there. There is. So don't be ashamed of that frustration. I mean, I'm firmly behind Mourinho, and today I thought the tactics were right. I thought the selections were right, and I think it just went wrong because of the Rooney miss and a lucky Xhaka goal. I think it's that simple. But people will think differently, and don't be afraid to do that. So tomorrow night, if you've got anything you want to say, write the notes down now or just come on it. It's unscripted. Richard Stainer says, thanks Richard, he says, I love De Gea, but he was at fault today for both goals. Should have moved his feet better on the first and come for the cross on the second. Wow. I disagree, Richard. As much as I thank you for the contribution, I disagree. I think the first goal reminded me of, and you'll all be too young for this, except for Marcus, who was probably about 30 at the time. 1990 World Cup. He's figuring out the maths. Shilton, semi-final, went up over Paul Parker, a United player, and he's just sort of stumped by it. I think the same thing happened with De Gea today. It looks like he can do more, but the loop and the deflection, there's nothing he can do, trust me. And the Smalling one, Welbeck's quite far out when that cross comes in. I don't think De Gea can get near it. I'd have to watch it back, but for me, it's all on Smalling that. And it was a lucky goal, nothing more, says Leon 7. Couldn't disagree with more with De Gea being at fault for the goals today, says George Carl. He's getting a bit of support, but it's all about opinion. The next thing I want to talk about is something that's been sort of circulating this week. Me and Ross sort of touched on it a little bit on the preview of the watch along today. I think it's going to divide opinion, so I'm going to take a lot of live comments as well as the lads on this. But Duncan Castles is a journalist who's apparently very, very close to Mourinho. I've questioned that this last week because he's linked us to Joe Hart, which I just think, if that's true, Mourinho is starting to chip away at my loyalty towards him. I do not want that head and shoulders clown anywhere near our club. He is a complete and utter pillock. When we played Iceland for England in the summer, he was doing the final countdown in the dressing room and trying to pump the players up. He's an idiot. And I don't think he's a particularly great goalkeeper anyway. So I don't want him, and I hope that's not true, but that was sort of from Duncan Castles. The second one is about Sergio Aguero, which is more recent. Ross, I think you said you would take him at United.
I think that was a bit of a knee-jerk reaction, because actually, on reflection, based on what you said actually about that goal, that Aguero moment, I just can't have it. I can't have it, and I can't have Joe Hart either. And do you know what? Duncan Castles has been a bit of a good source, and he might be close to Mourinho, but Jose just put out propaganda that he wants in the media, so I wouldn't read too much into it. And the person, is it come out of Di Marzio? No, it hasn't. And until it comes out of his mouth, I don't listen to pretty much any transfer speculation anymore, because everyone just makes stuff up, and he's the only one only journalist that I've seen that will not post rumours about players. He will only post if something concrete is in motion. So, I don't think that there's anything to it, and I wouldn't take him at United. I think he's one of these, not to the extent of Rooney, no way, but I think he's one of these players that's on a bit of a decline in his career. I think his best years are behind him now, even though he's still quite young. I just think that injuries and stuff, I think we've seen the best of Sergio Aguero, and it's telling that, I think if you're looking at Man City at the minute, he wouldn't even get in that team in front of Gabriel Jesus, and I don't want a Man City reject. Actually, I don't want two City rejects.
I agree. I mean, Tyrone Williams says if Mourinho signs Joe Hart, I'll turn. I mean, this is it'd be very interesting if he would dare do something like that, because I would be totally against it, and not even jokingly totally against it. I would be appalled. I would be really, really angry about it, and I think some would, and I think it's sort of, we are Manchester United, and I think Mourinho has been quite respectful about what Manchester United is. I mean, Axel Tuanzebe will always be his youth player that he's brought through now, and that, if I was Mourinho tonight, I mean, he doesn't watch the United stand, but if I was somebody, if I could have a word with him, I'd say, what you've done today is exactly what this club is all about. You've played a youth player for 90 minutes in a difficult game and trusted him, and I think that's probably one of your achievements of this year. Far better than the League Cup for me. You get what Manchester United's all about. That is what we're all about. And you can keep your League Cup, because giving Axel Tuanzebe that full 90 minutes today was superb, and that's what we want from you. Don't just play any old shit, but he's good enough. You give him a chance. But if he brings Joe Hart in, that goes against what Manchester United's all about, because we are the sort of club that I would never have Suarez at this club. No, I'd rather get relegated. Don't want him anywhere near my club. He might be one of the world's best players, but he's a cretin. Don't want him. Joe Hart's not Suarez, of course, but I wouldn't want him at this club. Your thoughts, Marcus? Aguero, would you have him?
Looking at a bigger picture again, if we got Griezmann, I would take Aguero, because I think Aguero as the number 9, Griezmann as the number 10, Martial on the left, Mkhitaryan on the right, I think that would strike fear into teams. I really do. Aguero, he's proven, all right, he's getting on a bit now. He does get injuries towards the back end of the season now, but I think those 4 in a Manchester United team would be devastating. But I wouldn't take Joe Hart.
Can I just quickly, I just want to jump in on the keeper as well. I think Jose made really interesting comments about Joel Pereira in the week. I don't know if you saw him, Mark, basically saying that he thinks Pereira is going to be probably one of the best keepers that Portugal have. So he's obviously got a lot of faith in him. So I do wonder if he's looking at Romero and Pereira and thinking, do you know what, I've probably got enough there. Rightly or wrongly, I wouldn't put it past him.
Yeah, I quite liked that. I quite enjoyed that. was just looking at it. There's a lot of people saying, "Oh, you're not going to react to some of the videos that that Arsenal channel have done." No, they're all twats, apart from Robbie. Robbie's a nice bloke, but they're just idiots. I mean, they've got mini hard-ons because they've beaten a reserve United side in the Premier League in a game that we really could have done without. And I've heard nonsense like that reserve side was still worth £220 million. What? So you're adding Rooney's £30 million that we paid for him a decade ago, and Carrick's 16 million over a decade ago? I mean, they're just bloody idiots. That was our reserves today. Also, we'd only played in Spain 33 days ago, less than that. I ain't got no problem. I'm still above them in the league anyway, so I'm not going to even entertain. By entertaining them, I'm actually putting them on a level with us, and they're not on a level as us. Their fans are a joke. Their club is. I mean, if they are so fickle. If Rooney scores that goal, they would have been booing their team in the second half, going absolutely mad. They are just a disgrace of a club. And not all of them, but some of them. And I've got nothing to say. I find it quite appalling that United fans go and watch it under the pretense of, I find it funny. But, it's your funeral. I think they are atrocious at some of the opinions of the fans. But what was I going to say? There was something I wanted to say. I've lost my point. I don't care about the league. Only Europa is important. Go and get Target. Twan Seaby was absolutely phenomenal. Oh yeah, somebody in the live comments tried to say that Twan Seaby was just as much to blame as Smalling. Well, Twan Seaby's a right back. The cross came in from the left. How can he be anything to do with Twan Seaby? If he was anywhere near that, he was probably trying to stop it. In which case, I'll give him another mark because he was the right back. It was nothing to do with him at all. This is an interesting point from Lloyd A1. I did want to touch on this actually. I don't believe this is true, by the way, but Kylian Mbappe has said that he doesn't want to come to Manchester United because he doesn't like the style of play. A valid point, but I don't know whether it's necessarily true. But the comment there from the Lloyd A1 was like, would world-class players want to come to Manchester United playing like this, even with Champions League football next season? Well, I'll let you answer that, Ross. No,
is my answer, to be honest. And I know it sounds a bit harsh, but I think we'd get Griezmann because he's a fan. He's a Manchester United fan, and he wants to play for Manchester United, and which is fantastic. And I think that's our chance of getting him. But if I am Mbappe, and I'm looking at, you just got to look at the players that we've got and that we've been developing recently. And I'm looking at Martial. I know people have criticised his attitude, fair dues, but he has gone a little bit backwards this season. Memphis, it didn't work out for. And you take a huge risk coming to United, and you've really got to fight for it. Mkhitaryan, to me, gone backwards, to be honest, and it's happening a little bit too often, which is why I think we need to kind of look closer to home and probably look to sign Premier League players, apart from Griezmann, because it's really tough for them. And I think if Mbappe went to Real Madrid, apart from 3-4 teams in that league, you're playing farmers. I know it sounds like people get furious with me for saying that, but I just think that teams like Eibar and teams like that, they're useless. And he would absolutely tear them apart. And his goals and assist records in Spain would be phenomenal, and everyone would be singing and dancing. If he comes to United, it would be really tough for him. And people would be comparing him to Rashford. Mourinho, if he doesn't perform really well, Mourinho will drop him straight away. And yeah, if I was Mbappe, I probably wouldn't look at United. And a lot of world-class players around, I think will all be saying the same thing. And we're turning into that team, which I really don't want us to do. Look, I like James Rodriguez, but I don't want to be that team that just signs players that can't get into other teams, because we shouldn't be doing that. We should be looking at the teams like we did with Memphis. They might be slightly lower down the rankings around Madrid, but we need to be signing their best players, not rejects from good teams. I don't want that.
It's an interesting point, because I was thinking about this earlier as well. We've had Moyes' season apart. Van Gaal had 2. Mourinho's had 1. Summer transfers where we've gone, wow, look at these signings. Di Maria, Falcao, Schweinsteiger, Memphis we signed as well, didn't we? Pogba. We had 3 summers of this, and it's not massively improved, is it? I mean, going back to De Gea very quickly, world's best goalkeeper. Fact is, last 4 seasons, 1 year in the Champions League. For the world's best keeper, I'll be totally blunt with you. If he could easily just say, It's not good enough. There's no guarantee you're going to get in the Champions League next year. I want to go. I want to go and play Champions League football. He's played one season in the Champions League in the last 4. That is the harsh truth with United. We've had 3 major summers of transfer signings. And I agree with Ross there. If we don't get this is why Champions League football is so important. It begins and ends with that. We've got to get it. Because I agree with people who say, we don't need Champions League football to sign these players. But if we don't get Champions League football, that's 4 years of big signings trying to get Champions League football, and it does become a bit of a joke. It's like we are just chucking money at this, and you get a reputation for that. Just even after a couple of years, chucking money at players to try and get Champions League football. We need to get Champions League football and build a club so that eventually we have a summer where we maybe only sell 2 players and we might sign 1. And that's where we need to get to, but we're so far away from it. Danish says Lukaku or Aubameyang are the ideal striker signings. To be honest, I think if we get Champions League football, we could get Aubameyang. If we don't, it could be Lukaku, because that's the sort of level of striker you would get. Paul Lucas makes a good point. This was the next thing I wanted to discuss, actually. I'm very interested by what Ross has been touched on a couple of times about Mkhitaryan, but I think a more prominent person to discuss, as Paul Lucas says, Martial needs to go, not good enough. Is the criticism, and there was a lot of it floating around today, and I've seen a lot of it over the last few weeks, maybe 2 months ago, a month ago, I think a lot of people felt sorry for Martial, backed him. I've definitely seen a big movement in relation to Anthony Martial, and people are now getting quite irate with him. Marcus, is that fair?
I would say so, yeah. Considering the season he had last season under Van Gaal, he was a very good youth talent then. This season, I think maybe the shirt number has played on his mind still. And I just don't think, we expect big things from him. I've always preferred Rashford over Martial anyway. But I think for Martial to have gone backwards over the course of the season, something must be wrong somewhere. Whether it's his relationship with Jose, again, whether it's the shirt number still playing on his mind, but he doesn't look the same. To me, some games he almost looks like he's disinterested. So, something is wrong somewhere. I can understand where the hate comes from, because he's not been fantastic this season. But again, he's a young lad, and he's still finding his feet. And we paid a lot of money for him as well. So I think you've got to give the lad another season at least.
I'm just thinking in my head. I'm sure. Yes, I found it. I'm sure me and Ross did a video, Rashford versus Martial, and we did it on the date, the 8th of March 2017. So tomorrow it would be 2 months ago. We did a video, Rashford versus Martial, head-to-head. Who is the better player? And do you want to know what the score was? Can you guess what the score was, Ross?
I can't remember, mate. I really can't.
Well, you were Martial, I was Rashford. And I'm not because, I love Martial. But 75% Martial, 25% Rashford, 9,000 votes. So,
wow.
What? That's 2 months ago. Fickle that people are turning on him? Or justified?
Do you know what? I think back then, Rashford was in a really, wasn't really playing, and when he was really ineffective, and he was on a bit of a goal drought. So yeah, it is a bit fickle that. I'm with Marcus. I think he needs at least another season, because he's so young and he's such a talent. But I agree with some fans. I think this season he's been poor. I think he tried his hardest today, but the thing it's basic stuff with him, like his first touch is off and his control's not that great, and things like that starting to wind me up a little bit. And that the shirt number thing doesn't really wash with me. I think look, he might have been pissed off that his shirt number has been taken, but you don't start downing tools because of that. I think the main difference is I think Van Gaal probably treated him like the absolute main man in this team, and probably treated him like he was the be all and end all of our attacking options. I think Mourinho is right to not make him that. He's basically said you're a part of a squad, and if you're not up to it, you're not going to be playing. I've got other players, and I don't think he likes that. I think he's one of them players that needs a big arm around him and needs to be loved a lot. And I don't think Jose Mourinho's got the time for any of that with any of his players. I think he's very much just about quite a harsh winning mentality, and I think some players that's not going to wash. But if we did let him go, I did worry a little bit about Memphis turning good, but he hasn't. But I think Martial will. I have no doubts that he will actually, especially in another league. I think he's got 4 times the talent that Memphis had, so we need to harbour that. And I think he's a Premier League player as well. He can adjust to this league. I think he already has.
I think it's going to be a very interesting summer. I've said that a few times now, but there's just so many players that I'd get rid of before the likes of people like Martial that I'll be absolutely stunned and disappointed if we let him go. I do agree with those people who are a bit frustrated with him. I said at the game today, he wants to play up front. It's a big opportunity, and I thought he started the game quite well, but I agree the touch was pretty bad. He was up front on his own with no pace around him, but I just don't think he's a forward yet. I think he's trying to move up front too early. Henry didn't move up front till he was about 23, 24. He's a fantastic left-sided player. That's where he should be playing, and I think that's the problem. I mean, Tyrone says it's hard for Martial to do well when Josie makes him focus on defensive tactics too much, which I think is true. And he says if he played under Klopp, he'd be a world beater. I wouldn't go that far. I mean, I think Klopp is just avoiding a lot of criticism because we are, unfortunately, dropping more points than them. But I've said this twice now, and I say it third time. I think Klopp will be gone next year. I think he'll get the sack. Liam McDyer, don't write Martial off. He's a great talent. I would be appalled if we let him go. I think it's been maybe a second season syndrome, but I do think he's got the potential to be a very good player. Whether he'll be here next season or not, I don't know. I mean, part of me thinks that there might be something going on behind the scenes, and it'd be interesting to see what goes on. But I think there's a few players like that. Ross is sort of ticking over in my head about Mkhitaryan, and he has been disappointing the last few games. Can't move away from it. Even again today, just not good enough. And maybe that gets a bit masked by the performances of others. I mean, I thought Fellaini was abysmal on Thursday. I think Rooney was abysmal today. But what I would say about Martial is if he goes to a club that does just let him express himself on the left-hand side, I agree, he'll be the same player he was last year. I just don't... Maybe he's just not a good fit for Mourinho. And Mourinho, as Ross said again, he is a manager. You look through his career, he wants men who will just run through brick walls for him, and he's openly been... I mean, this is what he's inherited at Manchester United. He's already moaned about Jones and Smalling and Shaw through the season and their injury records, and sort of hinted at they're injured when they could actually be playing. It takes time. It takes a long time to get rid of that. And the problem with Manchester United is they're all on big wages. So you can say, let's get rid of Phil Jones. He's probably on about 80 grand a week. Who's going to pay him 80 grand a week? And he's got a contract. So it's very difficult to do it. And then if you can't ship people out, you can't have a massive squad. So difficult, very difficult. Just very quickly, Marcus.
Yep.
End of the season, where do you think we're going to be? League position and Europa League.
League position, I think we're going to end up back in 6th because if we play the same team today, if we play that at Spurs and Southampton, I think I wouldn't hold out much hope. But I think we'll win the Europa League. I really do. Jose is not going to want to lose that, and he will make sure everyone is up for the fight.
Okay, and Ross, your thoughts? Do you agree with that, or?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I don't think you can really add anything to that. The interesting thing for me will be what he does with Pogba, because if we do win on Thursday, you'd be kind of tempted to not play him again until the Europa League final, which will, as Marcus says, will compound us to 6. And there'll be a few others like Valencia and Herrera that will probably get rested the same. Do you know what? And for me, just to quickly add, it'll be kind of nice because I think if we do win on Thursday, which we will, I think we'll see a lot more youth players coming through, which would be nice. I think it'd be a nice little end to the season, regardless of league position.
Well, I've been consistent all season, and I've said, look, we should get top 4 before we entertain Europa League, and that was way back in September. And the risk is the risk. We can't move away from it. We can get to the final. I'll be amazed if we don't get to the final. Ajax are a good team, but we should still beat them. But if one flailing elbow from Fellaini, one missed time tackled from somebody else, sending off, referee decision, tight game, and it could all come crashing down. And if it does, there's going to be big questions to ask, and we will be very, very nervous on that night in Stockholm, because and that may well translate to the players as well, because the pressure is going to be huge. But that's the situation we've left ourselves in this year, because we've made too many mistakes in the league. So I'd agree. I think we will end up in 6th. Arsenal, if they win all their games now, they'll finish above us, unless we win all of ours. And I think Spurs will annihilate us next Sunday. I'm very intrigued as to how Mourinho will line up against that, because I don't think he'll play a few of the first team again. And I think Spurs, last game at White Hart Lane, yes, they bottled the title, but I think they will look to put on a show, and I don't know whether we'll be able to stop that. Then Southampton and Palace just become exhibition games. But it's been a very, very interesting season, and I think it's, go and get your blood pressure checked, because I think if we get to that final, it's going to be a tension-filled couple of weeks. But hopefully we can get it done. And I'm going to be positive and say, if we get to the final, I think we'll win it, because I think hopefully we'll go and get more tickets than Ajax, and we'll turn it into a home game. Thanks for coming on, Marcus. Do you want to shout out your Twitter?
Twitter is mad_Marcus13.
Okay, and Ross?
Yeah, I'm at Hazza90. Cheers, guys.
Thanks, pal. Thanks for coming on. Of course, thanks to everybody on the live comments. It's been absolutely fantastic. If you've been with us on the shows today, I know there's been a lot. And I know it takes a lot of time, but when it's a disappointing day, I think we all need these sort of shows and the watch along, because otherwise you just go mad mulling it over on your head, as I used to do years ago. So yeah, I think that's one of the great things about this, is that you get this opportunity on a Sunday night to vent and share. So that's fantastic. So thanks to all of you lot. We've been absolutely bombarded, like I said at the video, by dislikes today from, I would suspect, Arsenal fans. There's over 1,000 of you watching. If you could just do one thing for us, just hit the like button before you go, that'd be great. Just to annihilate these Arsenal dislikes, that'd be fantastic. Subscribers are going up. Yeah, subscribe to the channel. We're live tomorrow night at 8:30 with Skype Goldbridge. The Football Daily. Transfer Daily will be up at 7 a.m. If no one's aware of that, we started it last Tuesday after the bank holiday. Every morning at 7 a.m, a 10-minute Transfer Daily discussing the latest transfer news. We know some of it's bollocks, but we just react to it and give our thoughts on it. So that'll be up at 7 a.m. and Skype Goldbridge at 8:30. So subscribe. Make sure you subscribe and click that bell so you get notifications when the videos come up. Thursday night, we're working towards that, folks. A big game. Win it. Get in the final. I'm disappointed. We're all disappointed, but I'm not surprised. That's the league form epitomised. And if I had the rights, I'd say this is United's season in a couple of seconds and re-show you that Rooney thing, which we'll probably all watch on Match of the Day anyway. But thanks everyone for watching. Speak to you all tomorrow, and have a nice end to your weekend and a fantastic week as well. Speak to you all soon.